Okay. Hi. I forgot something. So I'm putting it at the beginning here. What I'd like to do with Blue Beetle, what I'd like to see them do, is there was actually a time skip in between it falling on Earth and them finding it, and J- Jamie getting the Blue Beetle in a scarab. Okay, no, getting the scarab in a big belly burger wrapper. And the time skip would be like 10 to 15 years later. Enough time where Dan Garrett could have, in theory, died or buried the scarab underground. Or better yet, Ted buries the scarab underground after Dan Garrett dies. Yeah, that sounds good. And he's like, never again. You just, like I said, I want Dan Garrett to be actually kind of a man at a time, like a very quintessential Indiana Jones type hero, where he's like, I, I gotta go find this, I gotta go do that, I gotta find the artifact. I mean, they hinted at the Pago Island thing. They hinted at there being something Ted's lost in. But all it was, as you'll see in the review, was hints. It wasn't like they openly said, oh, Dan Garrett was a huge celebrity. They just made the greatest talk show host ever into the crazy uncle and said that he thought that the Blue Beetle was a good guy. By which, of course, I mean George Lopez. When am I going to bring up again that I watched the George Lopez late night show? That was my show, man. Never again. I don't think I'm ever gonna have the opportunity to use that stuff. Anyway, um, big crisis thing because Jaime originally got his powers in the crisis. He got it after like Day of Vengeance or whatever. That was an awesome series. They're never gonna do that correctly. That one you have to do by the book. That's why I say they're gonna do that correctly. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Um, I want Dan Garrett to be a big thing. I want the Blue Beetle radio show in the movie in number two. If they do a number two, to be a thing because Blue Beetle did have his own radio show in this. The, in our world, you know, Blue Beetle had a existing radio show. It only lasted for about, and they could say, "Oh, it had they have it in movie world too." It's It was great. George Lopez loved it as a kid. He was a huge celebrity. Yeah, I think my main point in this review was that there were too many hints, not enough outright saying things. I mean, when they did the main death and turned it into to like a Blue Beetle mind web, I don't want to I don't want to even hint at who the main death is. So I'm not going to. Alexa, pause. That was time. I gotta get off soon. Alexa, stop. So I'm not going to, but let's just say the main death was big. They could say that Dan Garrett accessed that mind web through vitamin B, the vitamin he used in the old radio show. If they didn't want to say he was Blue Beetle, they could say, oh, he accessed the web as well. The web was this new thing. It never, to my knowledge, has come up in any of the other Blue Beetle lore. I kind of like the idea of it, though. So, I'd be all for bringing that back, but have it be like the Flash and the Speed Force, where it's a big web that ties us all together. Circle of life type thing. Let's see. I mean, I really want to see a number two, but I don't think it's ever going to be. Didn't make enough money. I'm fully aware of that. They could use the web to, like, like I kind of hint at during the review. They could use it to explain how Jaime remembered Maxwell Lord in the comics. It just has a lot of potential. If they make a comic book sequel movie, if they don't want to do a movie itself, I mean, don't let this die. Go ahead and see it. Anyway, enjoy the video. You might be getting two today. This is Bob, Other World According to Bob. You know the drill. Um, I saw Blue Beetle today, and I also saw Big Picture Bob. That is Movie Bob for those of you who are uninitiated. This review recently, again, about how if we have ideas, we should do it ourselves. So that's what I'm doing. Um, yeah, Blue Beetle was fine, I guess. Um, they didn't have they didn't have Paco and Brenda. I almost said Jaime. Jaime is the main character still. Paco and Brenda were his side characters for quite some time, and then it was kind of debatable if he and Brenda had a thing. You don't even have to cover that. If you're going into this movie with just the thought of Mom, can you please move the camera down a little further? That way they can see my shirt and I'm not just a floating head. Sorry about that, everyone.
Well, to see the shirt, it's gonna cut your head off, dude.
I'm too much a floating head right now. Okay,
Better?
I guess. Um, so Paco and Brenda aren't even a thing, and they don't really waste a whole lot of time on Patrolman Dan Garrett. They do like honor him in the Beetle Cave or whatever Ted's lair ended up being called. I like that when when George Lopez's character thought the crazy uncle thought that Ted had abandoned the city, that he had just left on his fabulous time journey. We'll get to that and why I think it's the time one. He hated him, but when he found out he was the Blue Beetle, he was like, "Your dad was a good man," and he gave Ted a daughter, which I thought Ted always needed. Ted being married and hitched. I mean, yeah, I could totally see that. What I would like from the next Blue Beetle movie is that they reference that him and Batgirl, as Oracle, had a thing. Or at least Batgirl wasn't into him. It's entirely up to you. I'd love a reference. I saw the Green Lantern thing. Both my parents are like, "What Green Lantern?" But but yeah, it's definitely there. They didn't explain any of the Reach stuff. The Reach, for anyone who's uninitiated, is the species the Scarab comes from, and they're typically evil. No, I'm not going into that any further because they didn't. If, if you want any further elaboration, go see Young Justice, the cartoon that people fought so hard to bring back, and then all of a sudden lost interest in. If you want me to do a review of that, let me know. But what to say without giving anything away? I mean, it was a good movie, a little fast paced, but yeah, good movie. You didn't have like anything involving the Black Beetle or Booster Gold. They made it more that Booster Gold wasn't a huge part of this, but um, they did find the Scarab. You don't have to go through. Oh, he doesn't have the Scarab, and they could have made this movie a lot worse by saying, "Oh, he's learning how to use the Scarab." No, he just You just need the explanation of anything you can imagine, I can make. And he was like, boom, I'm good. Um, the subtitles didn't get in the way like Indiana Jones, which Indiana Jones, if you've seen my previous video on that, was a good movie. But the subtitles kinda, um, kinda slowed the movie down. This, it doesn't happen. I think they're setting up the Booster Gold series. I really do. With the post-credit scene. The credit scene that Ted is still alive and he's perfectly fine. I think that it would be a huge shame to not see what happened in Booster Gold 6 of Volume 2. Yeah, I I would definitely declare that a waste of time. You know, if they didn't do that. All three Blue Beetles kicking the Black Beetle plan into action. Plan into action and kicking Max Lord's ass at the same time. And Dan Garrett, again, this movie had wonderful potential because Dan Garrett could be like the dad from Strange World where he's just out of time. It's it was his world once. They do reference Pago Island. They have to escape from there. But, well, you see, they don't reference any robots or any clones of Dan Garrett. But I think that'd be cool if they did bring back Dan Garrett. If only for a, don't worry, Jamie, blah, 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 blah. I mean, Ted, like I said, survives, and whatever happened to him clearly didn't impact the world enough that the Justice League gets called in. So it's not like a infinite crisis type deal. Well, I don't think it is anyway. But, well, if it is like a infinite crisis type deal and he did have this big fight with Max Lord, which we know exists because of Wonder Woman 84. I'm not fully I'm not fully convinced that that's out of canon. That's a story for a different time. Max is one of the biggest villains known to the Justice League, and I think it'd be funny to see Booster Gold try so hard to want to be a Justice Leaguer and have his certificate change into like Hal Jordan's death certificate. That's the first arc in Booster Gold if we're setting it up like I do Spawn. Although that did have a name. The Spawn story, to my knowledge, didn't have a name, and would be curious to see if they did in trade. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about Blue Beetle. And who is a bigger supporting character. I was gonna say side character, but Booster is never nobody's side. But needless to say, he is always there for. He was even the main book. Well, Blue Beetle was the side story in like every one of that the end run of Booster Gold Volume 2. It wasn't like everyone, but toward the end there, it was. They tried to tie the two stories together. I really like that era of comics too. So if they're pulling from that all of a sudden Black Beetle suddenly shows up, I think that'd be absolutely peachy keen. Gotta keep this family friendly. But needless to say, old farts like me, you don't you don't have to worry about it being inaccessible to your younger potential Blue Beetle fans. I mean, you don't have Brenda's aunt to explain. You don't have any of the Dan Garrett stuff. You can basically skip out on half of the Linkara review, and you don't have any of the Black Beetle stuff for right now. But the potential is there. Like I said, Pago Island, they don't explain that it's Ted's uncle that did destroy the island originally. They don't do any of that. But it is a good movie. Enough of the DC breadcrumbs are there that I feel it'd be worth your time. It's another start from the DC universe because they've had Man of Steel, they've had Green Lantern, and now this. But at the same time, this, unlike those, could fit into the prior DC universe. So it could happen on Earth. Let's see. What Earth was the Green Lantern? 12. And everything would still fit. So I'm really trying not to give shit away. It's a good movie. I want you to see it. And I just saw Flashpoint. Well, I'm halfway through it. It is a decent enough film, but you got to keep in mind Booster Gold remembers Flashpoint too. He's out of time at that point. So, again, if he shows up, that'd be great. Please, DC, make him show up before the show instead of just expecting the layman to know who Booster Gold is. You can't do that. That's one season material. And please get a better actor than the guy that plays Chirk from Scrubs. I don't mind if he's African American. I just want a better actor than Donald Faison. I didn't even remember his name originally. Donald Faison. Donald Faison is not a good Booster Gold. He's silly, but yet he needs to have that serious, slack jawed. Oh, I touched my jaw. But that serious, stoic. If I screw up, time might not be right. But again, and if Blue Beetle should show up, which he should, make sure it's like the Justice League cameo in Peacemaker that even people that didn't make it that far into the series now know about Peacemaker's cameo. Just make it, and make it this version of Jaime too, not some other guy that's like 10 years older. I liked the kid from Cobra Kai as Jaime, and I like the secretary calling him Jamie, even though he himself does that after he has been Blue Beetle for a while and just wants to be more approachable to the public. Um, I would have loved to have seen Justice League International, but I imagine you're probably setting up like the early 2020, 20 to the 2000s era Justice League ending recently. I don't imagine you're setting up something from the 80s. So you're probably gonna need to just say that the Justice League's an exclusive club or something. I don't know. I don't write these. You guys do. But it'd be cool if they were passing out like the certificates like they were in. I keep coming back to that Booster Gold run. But yeah, that'd be cool. And if Jaime sees his way into the Justice League eventually, that'd be great too. That character deserves a run at the Justice League. Like I said, some of the best Blue Beetle stuff was just at those short stories. I like that he was one of the only members that remembered Maxwell Lord's identity in that era of when they brought back the Justice League International. Could be, this movie could lead to great stuff in the comics. That's all I'll say. You could finish that storyline. You could, I don't know, just you could do a lot of great stuff with this. You could bring in his crazy uncle and have him be a primary fixture. Will it get me to pick up that Scarab War thing that I didn't remember the name of in the original review? Maybe. Maybe. I'm definitely thinking about it now. But, yeah. I hope they don't go the Kamala Khan route and try to fake out a death. Don't do that, DC. That's just we're good fans. We don't need to be done dirty like that. Make it so Blue Beetle is the character they saw on screen. Like bring in his girlfriend, have him meet Brenda, and be like, "Who's she?" Yeah, I saved her that one time. Or bring in Ted's daughter. she carried the movie. Her and Jamie's romance, or Jaime, her and Jamie's romance was part of the movie, and people are going to expect to see that in the books now. And bring her in before Scarab War. Yeah, the movie itself gets a 3 out of 5 because, again, it didn't bring in Justice League International. It didn't bring in Booster Gold. It just hinted at all these things. It wasn't like how Brandon Ralph Superman was planning to set up things, or that, or even Flashpoint just set wasn't afraid to set up the thing with Michael Keaton. Yeah, can't you can't live your movie in fear. Um, that's my final thought. Good movie, but they didn't say enough. There's a lot of good Blue Beetle stories out there. If any of them that I have mentioned kind of interest you, just make your way to your local comic book shop. Ask about Blue Beetle. I'm sure a few of these are still in print. The the Walmart 100-page Giants reprinted some of the classic Jaime. So I'm sure that definitely is still out there. But otherwise than that, yeah, go see the movie. Pardon me. Who would I cast for Brenda? Think question of the day. Like, comment, subscribe. I never know how to end these things.